I paid for everything. The hall. The food. The flowers. The band. Even the champagne glasses with her initials on them. And yet, I wasn't allowed inside the reception. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say about my own daughter. My name is Michael Thompson. I'm 64 years old. I worked for over 40 years with one simple belief: if you give your children everything, they'll stand by you when it matters. I was wrong. Before you see what happens next in my life, subscribe to this channel. And while you're here, leave a comment telling me where you're watching from, your city or country. If something like this has ever happened to you or someone you love, share your story too. You're not alone. My daughter, Emily, was my world. I raised her after her mother passed away when Emily was just 9 years old. From that day on, it was just the two of us. I worked double shifts. I skipped vacations. I wore the same old coat for years so she could have new clothes for school. Every award she won, every graduation, every small victory, I was there, clapping the loudest. So when she got engaged, I didn't hesitate. Her fiancé, Ryan, came from a well-off family. At least, that's what they like people to believe. Nice house, polished smiles, the kind of family that judges you silently while shaking your hand. Still, I wanted peace. I wanted my daughter to be happy. Emily sat across from me at my kitchen table, eyes shining. "Dad," she said softly, "the wedding Ryan's parents want is expensive." I smiled and said the words that changed everything. "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it." She tried to protest at first. But when I insisted, she hugged me tight. "I'll never forget this, Dad," she said. I believed her. Over the next 6 months, I paid for things I didn't even understand. Designer flowers flown in from another state. A celebrity wedding planner. A venue so fancy I felt underdressed just walking into it. Every time I signed a check, I reminded myself, this is for my daughter. Ryan's parents barely spoke to me. When they did, it was polite, cold. Like I was staff, not family. Still, I kept my head down. The wedding day finally arrived. I stood in my small bedroom, adjusting a tie I'd owned for 20 years. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. Older. Tired. But proud. I arrived at the ceremony early. Guests were pouring in. Friends, coworkers, distant relatives. Everyone complimented the decorations. "It's beautiful," one woman said. "Must have cost a fortune." I smiled. "Yes," I said quietly. "It did." The ceremony itself was perfect. Emily looked stunning. When she walked down the aisle, she smiled at everyone, except me. I told myself it was just nerves. After the vows, people clapped, cheered, hugged. I waited for Emily to come to me. She didn't. I figured she'd find me at the reception. That's when everything fell apart. As guests moved toward the reception hall, I followed. But before I could enter, a young man in a black suit stepped in front of me. "I'm sorry, sir," he said. "I need to check your name." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. "My name?" I said. "I'm the bride's father." He looked uncomfortable, scanned his list again. "I'm sorry," he repeated. "Your name isn't on the reception list." I felt heat rush to my face. "That's impossible," I said. "I paid for this wedding." People behind me started staring. The man lowered his voice. "Sir, I was instructed not to let you in." "Instructed by who?" I looked around, searching for Emily. I saw Ryan standing near the entrance, laughing with his parents. I called out, "Ryan!" He turned, saw me, and looked away. That's when Emily finally appeared. Her smile disappeared the moment she saw me. "Dad," she said quietly, stepping closer. "Can we talk?" She pulled me aside, away from the guests. "What's going on?" I asked. "Why can't I go in?" She didn't look me in the eye. "Dad, it's better if you don't attend the reception." Those words hit harder than any slap. "Better?" I said. Better for who? She sighed, frustrated. Ryan's parents think it might be awkward. Awkward? I repeated. I'm your father. They paid for part of the guest experience, she said quickly. I felt my chest tighten. No, Emily. I paid. Every single dollar. She crossed her arms. Dad, please don't make a scene. A scene. After everything I'd done. I was the problem. So that's it? I asked. I sit through the ceremony, smile for pictures, and then get sent away? She whispered. I'll talk to you later. Later never came. I watched as guests entered the hall I paid for. Music played. Laughter echoed through the doors. And I stood outside, alone. I drove home in silence. That night I didn't sleep. I replayed every moment of her childhood. Every sacrifice. Every promise. And one question kept repeating in my mind. How did I become disposable, to my own daughter? What I didn't know then was that the wedding was just the beginning. Because what Emily and her new family did next was far worse than banning me from a reception. I sat alone in my house that night, still wearing the same suit from the wedding. The tie felt tighter with every breath, but I didn't loosen it. Somehow, it felt wrong to take it off. Like admitting the day was really over. My phone stayed silent. No call. No message. Not even a short apology. Around midnight, I finally poured myself a glass of water and sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Emily once promised she'd never forget what I did for her. That promise echoed in my head. The next morning, my phone buzzed. It was Emily. Dad, she said quickly, like she was in a hurry. I just wanted to check if you got home okay. That was it. No apology. No explanation. I did, I replied. You didn't seem worried last night. There was a pause. Dad, I told you, it was complicated. Being banned from your own daughter's wedding reception isn't complicated, I said calmly. It's cruel, she sighed. Ryan's parents were uncomfortable. They felt things might look bad. Bad for who? I asked. For everyone, she said. Please don't turn this into something bigger than it needs to be. Something bigger. I wanted to scream. Instead, I swallowed it. I just want to understand, I said. Why wasn't I even listed as a guest? Another pause. Longer this time. Ryan's mom handled the final guest list, she said softly. It was easier that way. Easier. After we hung up, I sat there staring at the wall, realizing something painful. I wasn't pushed out by accident. I was removed, intentionally. A week passed. Then 2. Emily didn't visit. Didn't call. When I finally asked if I could come by their new house, she hesitated. Ryan thinks it's better if we meet somewhere neutral, she said. Neutral. Like I was a stranger. We met at a small cafe across town. Ryan was already there, scrolling through his phone. He didn't stand up when I arrived. I sat down slowly. I want to clear the air, I said. Man to man. He nodded, still not looking at me. Your parents didn't want me at the reception, I continued. Fine. But why was Emily okay with it? Ryan finally looked up. Look, he said, his tone cold. My parents come from a certain background. Appearances matter. And I ruined the appearance? I asked. He didn't deny it. Emily shifted in her seat. Dad, please. No, I said gently. Let him finish. Ryan leaned back. You're old school. Simple. It didn't fit the image we were going for. Image. I laughed quietly. Funny, I said. That image was paid for with my money. Ryan's eyes narrowed. We didn't ask you to pay, he snapped. No, I agreed. You just took it. The table went silent. That's when Emily said something that changed how I saw her forever. Dad, now that I'm married, things are different. I need to focus on my new family. I nodded slowly. And where do I fit? I asked. She didn't answer. A month later, an envelope arrived in my mailbox. No return address. Inside were copies of documents, bank statements, wedding invoices, and something else. A loan application, in my name. My hands started shaking. I flipped through the pages, my heart pounding. Someone had taken out a large personal loan using my details. My signature was there. Or at least, something that looked like it. I called the bank immediately. The woman on the phone sounded apologetic. Sir, the loan was approved 3 weeks ago, she said. Funds have already been transferred. Transferred to where? I asked. She gave me the account number. It wasn't mine. I recognized it instantly. It was Emily's. I drove to her house that same afternoon. Ryan answered the door. He blocked the entrance with his body. You shouldn't be here, he said. I'm here for my daughter, I replied. Move. Emily appeared behind him, eyes wide when she saw my face. What did you do? I asked, holding up the papers. Why is there a loan in my name? She looked at Ryan. He sighed. Relax, he said. It's temporary. Temporary fraud? I snapped. We needed funds after the wedding, he said. You had good credit. I stared at my daughter. You knew about this? I asked. She whispered. We were going to tell you. When? I demanded. After I defaulted? After my house was gone? Ryan crossed his arms. You're overreacting. You live alone. You don't need much. That one sentence, broke something inside me. I worked 40 years for what I have, I said quietly. And you stole it. Emily finally stepped forward. Dad, she said, almost annoyed. You're acting selfish. Selfish. For wanting my name cleared. For wanting my future protected. I walked away without another word. That night, I sat at my desk and did something I should have done earlier. I called a lawyer. She listened quietly as I explained everything. Then she said something that sent a chill down my spine. Michael, she said, this isn't just financial abuse. This could be criminal. I stared at the wall, realizing the truth. The wedding humiliation wasn't the worst betrayal. It was just the test. And I had failed it, by trusting them. But what they didn't know was that I wasn't done. Because once I stopped protecting them, I started protecting myself. And that changed everything. The lawyer's office smelled like old books and burnt coffee. I sat across from her, hands folded, trying to stay calm while my heart raced. Her name was Linda Carter. Mid-50s. Sharp eyes. No nonsense. She reviewed the documents slowly, 1 page at a time. This signature, she said finally, tapping the paper, is not consistent. So it's fake? I asked. It's forged, she corrected. And whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. I felt a strange mix of relief and rage. What happens now? I asked. She leaned back. Now you stop talking to them. No calls. No visits. Let me handle everything. That wasn't easy. Emily had been my entire life. Cutting contact felt like cutting off my own arm. But I listened. The bank froze the loan within days. An investigation was opened. That's when the calls started. First from Emily. I didn't answer. Then from Ryan. I blocked the number. Then Ryan's mother called from an unknown number. I answered by mistake. Michael, she said sweetly. There's been a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding doesn't involve forgery, I replied. Her voice hardened. You're making this very difficult. No, I said. You made it criminal. She hung up. A week later, I was served papers. Emily and Ryan were suing me, claiming emotional distress. claiming I had promised them money, claiming I was trying to destroy their marriage. I stared at the papers in disbelief. They're flipping the story, I told Linda. She nodded. Which means they're scared. Court day arrived faster than I expected. I walked into the courtroom alone. Emily didn't look at me. Ryan smirked. Their lawyer painted me as a bitter old man. Jealous. Controlling. Unable to accept his daughter's independence. Then it was my turn. Linda stood calmly. She presented the bank records. The forged signature analysis. The transfer into Emily's account. The courtroom went quiet. Then Linda did something I didn't expect. She played an audio recording. My voice. Emily's voice. It was from months earlier. The day she asked me to pay for the wedding. Don't worry, Dad, Emily's voice said through the speakers. I'll always take care of you. You'll never be alone. Emily's face turned pale. Ryan whispered something to his lawyer. Linda wasn't finished. She presented text messages, emails, screenshots, messages where Ryan talked about using Dad's credit, where Emily said, he won't do anything. The judge leaned forward. Ms. Carter, he said, are you suggesting conspiracy? Yes, Your Honor, Linda replied. And elder financial abuse. That word echoed through the room. Elder. Abuse. Emily finally looked at me. Tears filled her eyes. But I felt nothing. Because I'd already mourned her. The judge ordered a recess. In the hallway, Emily approached me. Dad, she whispered, crying. Please, we can fix this. I looked at her calmly. You already fixed it, I said. By showing me who you are. Ryan grabbed her arm. Don't talk to him, he hissed. I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. The judge returned. His decision was firm. The lawsuit against me was dismissed. The loan was ruled fraudulent. The case was referred to criminal court. Ryan's face went white. Emily collapsed into her chair. As I walked out of the courtroom, something unexpected happened. I felt lighter. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying guilt that wasn't mine. But the story wasn't over. Because court doesn't just punish lies. It reveals secrets. And the next one was about my house. I thought the worst was behind me. The courtroom battle was over. The truth was out. I believed I could finally breathe. I was wrong. 2 days after the hearing, Linda called me early in the morning. Michael, she said, her voice tight. Did you ever sign a power of attorney? My stomach dropped. No, I said immediately. Never. There was a pause. Then we have a problem. She asked me to come to her office right away. When I arrived, she had a file open on her desk. Thick, organized, and terrifying. Inside was a limited power of attorney, supposedly signed by me 6 months earlier. The signature looked close. Too close. This document, Linda said carefully, was used to access your property records. My house. The same house I'd lived in for 32 years. The same house Emily grew up in. What did they do? I asked, already knowing the answer. They tried to transfer partial ownership, Linda said. From you to Emily. I felt dizzy. They couldn't complete it, she continued, because the loan investigation flagged your account. But they were close. Very close. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. The wedding money. The loan. Now the house. It wasn't impulsive. It was planned. Linda slid another document across the desk. An email exchange. Between Ryan and a real estate attorney. Subject line, post-wedding asset consolidation. Ryan had written, once her father's assets are secured, we can move him into assisted living if needed. Move me. Like furniture. That night, I went home and walked through every room slowly. The hallway where Emily learned to ride a bike. The kitchen where we baked birthday cakes. The living room where she slept on my chest during thunderstorms. And somewhere along the way, those memories stopped protecting me. They were being used against me. The next morning, I changed everything. I updated my will. I revoked all permissions. I locked down my accounts. And then, at Linda's advice, I did something that felt cruel, but necessary. I filed a restraining order. Not against Ryan. Against my daughter. When the officer came to serve the papers, Emily called me in hysterics. "How could you do this to me?" she cried. "How could you do this to me?" I asked calmly. "You're choosing lawyers over your own child," she screamed. "No," I said quietly. "I'm choosing survival." That word silenced her. A week later, Ryan was arrested. Forgery. Fraud. Conspiracy. Emily wasn't arrested, yet. But she was charged. The media picked up the story. Local man targeted an elder financial abuse scheme. Neighbors I hadn't spoken to in years stopped me on the street. "I'm so sorry," they said. "We had no idea." Neither did I. Then came the final blow. Emily showed up at my house. She stood on the sidewalk, not allowed to step closer. She looked smaller somehow. Older. Broken. "I never meant for it to go this far," she said. I believed her. And that hurt the most. "You still did it," I replied. She looked at the house. "I thought, once you were gone, it wouldn't matter." There it was. Not hate. Convenience. I closed the door gently. Inside, I sat alone, listening to the silence. I realized something painful but freeing. I wasn't abandoned at the wedding. I was being erased. And now, it was my turn to decide what stayed. The house didn't echo anymore. It listened. For weeks after Emily was legally barred from coming near me, I lived in a strange calm. No shouting. No begging. No manipulation. Just truth. Court became routine. Ryan stopped looking confident. He stopped smirking. He stopped pretending. When the judge read the charges, forgery, conspiracy, elder financial abuse, the courtroom felt heavier with every word. Ryan's lawyer spoke first. Then mine. But the moment that changed everything was when the judge turned to Emily. "Did you know this money was taken without your father's consent?" he asked. Emily hesitated. Seconds felt like hours. "Yes," she whispered. That single word shattered the last excuse I had been holding on to. The judge removed his glasses. "You weren't confused," he said. "You weren't pressured. You participated." Ryan was sentenced. Prison time. Mandatory restitution. No appeals. Emily wasn't sent to prison. Her punishment was quieter. She lost her job. News spreads fast when your name appears in court records. Friends stopped answering her calls. Ryan's family disappeared overnight. The same people who once told her she was too good for her father now blamed her for everything. One afternoon, she showed up outside my house again. Older. Thinner. Hollow. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. "I don't want money," she said. "I don't want forgiveness." She looked at the ground. "I just want to know if I still matter to you." I stayed silent for a long time. Then I said the hardest truth of my life. "You mattered," I said. "That's why this hurts." She nodded. That answer was worse than anger. A week later, I sold the house. Not to run, but to close a chapter. I moved somewhere quiet, near the water, where mornings begin without regret. I started volunteering at a local senior center. I listened to stories that sounded painfully familiar. Children taking. Parents shrinking. I told them what I learned too late. Love doesn't mean surrender. Months passed. Then a letter arrived. Emily's handwriting. "Dad, I live with what I did every day. I don't expect you to save me anymore. I just hope one day you'll sleep knowing I never stopped being your daughter. I folded the letter, placed it in a drawer. Some doors don't reopen. They stay closed to protect what remains inside. On my porch, watching the ocean, I finally understood something. I wasn't punished at the wedding. I was freed. Freed from guilt. Freed from obligation. Freed from being used. If you're listening and someone has made you feel old, useless, or invisible, remember this. The moment you stop begging for respect is the moment you reclaim your life. Before you see what happens next in my life, subscribe to this channel. Comment where you're listening from, your city or country. And if this story felt real, it's because it happens every day.